morning, everyone, and welcome to OMISTA Credit Union's 2019 Annual General Meeting. I'm Claire Fanning, and I will be chairing the meeting for you this evening. As you know, the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions led to OMISTA having a fully remote AGM this year. So before we get to our official agenda, I would like to introduce you to Catherine Harrop, who will be our moderator this evening. Catherine will now share with you some basic information on how the meeting will work.
After more than 80 years of meeting in person, this 2020 has truly changed things. Now, here we are holding our first totally remote annual general meeting, and that is testament to the strength of the cooperative spirit. And in keeping with that cooperative spirit, I want you to join me to learn a little bit about how you can participate tonight.
To begin with, look for this bar on your screen. On desktops and laptops, it's at the bottom of your screen. You are an attendee at this meeting. Your microphone is on mute and we can't see you. That could be a good thing depending on your COVID hairdo. But you can ask questions, comment, and vote. There are 3 icons in the middle of the screen. The one on the right, Q&A, short for question and answer, will be put to use tonight. You can move and second motions. You can ask questions or make comments. Just type, then click send. So here's what we will see: a red alert and your comment. George has moved the transfer of $10,000 to everyone's account. You will also be able to vote on motions like that. Well, not like that. You will see the results. Remarkably, 100% agreed to the $10,000 transfer. Sorry it isn't real. So to recap, the Q&A button is your communication channel to us. If you are having technical difficulties, please contact our technical support team, Blake Reynolds, at 506-381-9365, or Alex Maudsley at 506-233-1301. I will now hand you back to our chair, Claire Fanning.
Thank you, Catherine. And before I call the meeting to order, may I please call for a moment of silence to remember and honor members, friends, family, and colleagues lost over the past year. We also will take this moment to be together in solidarity for the hurt being experienced in our world today, and to silently acknowledge the Indigenous people of our beautiful provincial lands, which we all share. Thank you. I will now call the meeting to order. At all meetings of the credit union, 14 members shall constitute a quorum. Catherine, do we have a quorum tonight?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 78 members in attendance.
Okay. With 78 members in attendance, under our bylaws, a quorum is confirmed. Please take note that this is a virtual meeting and is being recorded while being presented. I would now like to appoint Joanne Beliveau, Executive Assistant, as the recording secretary for this evening's meeting, as well as David Morehouse, Legal Counsel with Atlantic Central, as our parliamentarian. During the pre-show and immediately before the commencement of the meeting, instructions were provided regarding how to ask a question, move or second motions, and participate in votes. Before I proceed, are there any further questions or clarifications you may require on procedures? If so, please type your question into the Q&A. We'll pause for a moment and await any questions you may have. Okay, as there do not appear to be any more questions, we'll move on. Provided in the downloadable meeting documents was a copy of the agenda, which is now displayed on your screen. May I have a motion to approve the agenda and to permit the chair to change its order if necessary?
So we are looking for a mover and a seconder to move the motion to approve the agenda. To do so, please enter I move or I second into the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. We have, the motion has been moved by Matt Carter, and seconded by Sean McKinley. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll wait for a moment to allow some time for your questions.
Darlene Smith, chair, has typed in I do. I don't know if it means I am a mover or support the motion, or you have a question. So Darlene, if you have a question, please type it in now.
Okay, we'll wait a minute for that.
Okay, she was just seconding the motion as well. Thank
Okay,
you.
I thought that might be the case, so that's good.
So
So if there are no questions, we'll move on with the poll. May I ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit. Well, there we go, our first vote, and it worked perfectly. So as you can see on your screen, the motion is carried, the agenda has been approved. At this point, I would like to pass things over to Catherine, our moderator, once again for the introductions of our board of directors and presenters.
To begin with, Claire Fanning, OMISTA's board chairperson. William Hanson, board vice chairperson and governance committee chairperson. George Butters, director and board secretary. Robert Carson, director. Robert Christie, director. Julia Feltham, director and sustainability committee chairperson. Ajit Gautam, director and audit committee chairperson. Jack Lowe, director and nominating committee chairperson. Simon Pacey, director. Our presenters this evening are Tammy Christopher, OMISTA's chief executive officer. Asha Jamula, director of finance and risk. And Carrie Blair, external auditor with KPMG.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll now move on to agenda topic 5, which is the approval of the minutes of the 2018 annual general meeting. Provided in the downloadable documents was a copy of the minutes. If in order, may I have a motion for their approval?
So we are looking for a mover and a seconder for the motion, and you do need to type that into the Q&A. We have motion for approval from Richard Vaillancourt, and we have a seconder. The motion has been seconded by Stephanie McGrath, McGrath. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. You should now see a poll on your screen, so may I ask that all members please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit. Okay, as displayed on your screen, the motion is carried. The minutes of the 2018 AGM have been approved. Moving on to agenda item number 6, I will now call on Bill Hanson, Chair of the Governance Committee, to take us through our proposed bylaw amendment.
Thank you. Each year, our Governance Committee reviews our bylaws to ensure that they are updated and current. A clean copy of our full bylaws was made available to you in the downloaded documents, meeting documents. In May, we submitted recommended bylaw changes to FCNB, and we received appropriate pre-approval for the following recommended change being brought forward to you for approval and adoption this evening. I will go through the change, and the respective section of the bylaws to be amended will be displayed for you to follow along. Article 5, Directors and Officers, Section 4, Meetings of the Board, Paragraph 1.1. A director, and in the case of committees, non-director members of those committees may, if all of the directors of the credit union consent, participate and vote in a meeting of the board or a committee of the board from any remote location by means of telephone, electronic, or other means of communication facilities as permit all members participating in the meeting to communicate with each other simultaneously and instantaneously. And a director participating in such a meeting by such means is deemed to be present at the meeting. Such consent of all directors of the credit union shall be sought upon election of the board and remain in effect until the end of their tenure. This will be in effect with respect to all meetings of the board and of committees of the board in which a director holds office. This change is of an administrative nature and aims to modernize our processes. As we have seen with the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, the need to be able to engage in modern forms of meetings is a must. Madam Chair, I move the adoption of the bylaw change to Article 5, Section 4, Paragraph 1.1 as presented.
Please ask for a seconder to this motion.
So we are looking for a seconder to Bill's motion to approve the bylaw amendment. And we have a seconder, Allison Clipperton, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. To our members, please take note that bylaw amendments require a special resolution as per the Credit Union Act, Section 1. A special resolution is a resolution passed by 2/3 or more of the votes cast by the persons who voted in respect of that resolution. Therefore, a 2/3 majority is required on this vote. So before we proceed, is there any discussion on the motion or clarification required on the special resolution? Please use the Q&A box to type any questions you may have. We'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions. See any questions showing up, Catherine?
No, Madam Chair, there are no questions.
Okay. You should now see a poll on your screen. So may I ask that everyone vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit. Okay, as you can see displayed on your screen, we do have a 2/3 majority for the special resolution for the bylaw amendment, so it has been approved.
Madam Chair, this comes a little late. It's from Nelson Vesey. It is a question. It is, does this mean the rules of order for that type of meeting, Roberts? The Roberts rules? Does this mean the rules of order for that type of meeting? Was his
Yes,
question.
so Nelson, we'll continue to use the same rules of order. This simply allows us to move forward with doing our meetings as we're doing this one tonight, that we can meet through other electronic means rather than together in a boardroom or a meeting room for an AGM.
Okay, no more
Okay.
questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Catherine. We'll now move on to item 7 of our agenda. I'd like to call upon Jack Lowe, Chair of the Nominating Committee, to deliver his report.
Good evening, fellow members. In accordance with the current bylaws, the Board of OMISTA Credit Union shall be comprised of a total of 9 directors, 7 of whom shall have an account at one of the branches situated in the Moncton area, and 2 of whom shall have an account at one of the branches in either Fredericton or Oromocto. Generally, directors serve for a 3-year term and are eligible for re-election, but are not eligible to serve for more than 9 consecutive years. The terms of 2 Moncton area directors and 1 Fredericton area director are expiring at tonight's 2019 AGM. Those positions were held by Claire Fanning, Ajit Gautam, and Simon Pacey. A call for nominations was placed on February 18th, 2020 to fill these positions. I am pleased to report that we have received nominations from each of the directors with expiring terms. Claire Fanning, Ajit Gautam, and Simon Pacey are all eligible to serve an additional term. As of the close of the nominations on March 17th, 2020, no further nominations were received. I therefore declare Claire Fanning, Ajit Gautam, and Simon Pacey elected by acclamation. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jack. We'll now move on to the recommendations of the board. As per Article 8A on your agenda, the board is required at each of our AGMs to seek approval of its power to appoint delegates for meetings of Atlantic Central. In accordance with the Credit Unions Act and Section 4.4A of Atlantic Central's bylaws, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of OMISTA Credit Union Limited be empowered to appoint delegates to any general meetings of Atlantic Central at any regular or special meeting of the Board of Directors. May I ask for a mover and a seconder? Catherine, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. We have a mover in Richard Vaillancourt, seconded by Nathalie Deveau.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have, and we'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
We were asked if we could leave a little more time for people to type, so.
All right. I get that. I'm not the best typist in the world myself.
Well, it looks like Richard Vaillancourt's the guy to beat.
Nope. He's speedy, is he? That's right.
Have to be fast.
How are we looking, Catherine?
I see no questions.
Okay, we'll
Madam
try to
Chair.
continue to go a little slower in case.
Okay.
But you should now see a poll on your screen. So may I ask that all members please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit. Okay, 101%. That's
Yeah, I was wondering how you could get
really good.
1%.
So, as you can see on your screen, the motion to allow the board to appoint representatives to meetings of Atlantic Central has been carried. Your board are once again recommending that KPMG LLP be appointed external auditors for the 2020 fiscal year. May I ask for a motion to appoint the external auditors of KPMG LLP for the upcoming 2020 fiscal year?
So we're looking for a mover and a seconder on the motion to appoint KPMG LLP as external auditors for the 2020 fiscal year. We need a mover and a seconder. We have Jack Lowe has moved the motion and it has been seconded by Angela Steves. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? If so, please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have, and we will pause for a few moments to allow time for your questions. Any questions, Catherine?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, let's move on. So you should now see a poll on your screen, and we'll ask all members to please vote by choosing your selection and hitting submit. Okay, as you can see on your screen, the motion to appoint KPMG LLP as external auditors for 2020 has been carried. We'll now move to the approval of preferred share dividends. The payment of dividends on our preferred shares in previous years required the approval of directors of the credit union and the members of the credit union at their annual general meeting. A new Credit Union Act was proclaimed in January of 2020. With the new act, all dividends and patronage rebates are now approved solely by the board of directors. For your information, your board of directors has approved payment of the 2019 dividends on the preferred shares. The dividend rate is set as the best 5-year GIC rate plus 2%. This rate resets every 5 years from the closing date of the original sale and is currently 3.75%. The closing par value of the shares was $440,530, and interest has been accrued at the rate of 3.75% for the period January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. We are now at item 9 of our agenda, the presentation of the reports. As in the past, we will consider all reports at the same time, one motion to approve all reports as presented. Feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box as you think of them. Following the presentation of all the reports, we will pause and answer your questions. So I will now call upon Bill Hanson, Vice Chairperson, to assume the chair during the presentation of the reports.
I now call on Claire Fanning, Chair, to present the President's report.
Thank you, Bill. As I was preparing my report, it seemed that 2019 was a long time ago. So much has happened in 2020. However, we shouldn't forget the success we had last year and the important accomplishments that were achieved. Let me outline a few. Financially, we had another successful year, achieving more than $1 million in surplus, adding to the strength and security of OMISTA for the benefit of all stakeholders. As your board, we're happy to report that OMISTA continues to be very strong financially, meeting all financial obligations and doing so while being there for members, staff, and all stakeholders. As for 2019, we had a number of important wins, including strong community involvement as demonstrated by the input of 1,563 employee hours in community service, and in excess of $25,000 in donations. We attracted 701 new members in 2019. We tested the viability of placing an ATM or possibly opening a new branch in the village of Hillsborough. And in the process, we attracted 33 new members to our Moncton branches. Our board undertook training to build our skills and strengthen our ability to bring strong governance to the OMISTA board table. Focus was placed on the areas of cybersecurity and fraud prevention, followed by anti-money laundering training, which the board refreshes every year. In addition, 7 directors completed courses in the Credit Union Director Education Program. In November, the board joined a number of staff and managers to attend an honest conversation with Barack Obama, an event organized by the Nova Scotia Co-op Council and jointly sponsored by Atlantic Credit Unions. We were proud that credit unions sponsored more than 200 seats exclusively for youth to join this event. This was a powerful way to support our young people and demonstrate that credit unions have an interest in being part of their future. On the regulatory side, we saw the new Credit Union Act passed into law at the end of 2019, becoming effective in January 2020. This was the first update to the Act since 1992 and opened the doors for credit unions to proceed with in-branch and electronic voting. This will be crucial to our ability to execute on our digital strategy and a big gain for all credit unions and their members. In the fall of 2019, our board of managers met in Halifax at League Data's home base to build our strategy for the next 3 years. I'll summarize our strategy under 2 main concepts. The first being creating value for all stakeholders. We will create actions and plans that consider and benefit our traditional stakeholders, who include members, employees, communities, retirees, and fellow credit unions. And we now must name our planet as a legitimate stakeholder, ensuring that corporate social responsibility is not a separate to-do, but is an integral part of everything we do. We will be mindful and vigilant about considering the impacts of our actions today on future generations. There will always be some tension between the short and long-term impacts of our actions, but we recognize that civil society cares about environment and social issues. As financial cooperatives, we hold ourselves out as leaders in these areas. Therefore, we must demonstrate leadership in our actions. So we will be very thoughtful and, where possible, bold in our decision-making as it relates to protecting our planet. Secondly, we also must remember that we are custodians of the cooperative ideology, and that ideology is another stakeholder, and we must name it as such. Our cooperative ideology is vulnerable in a world that moves increasingly towards special interests and away from the common good. When we find ourselves in conflict between what benefits some stakeholders short-term and what benefits the system and the ideology long-term, we will need to think very carefully and ensure we prioritize longer-term gains over shorter-term interests. Our strategy reflects this in our commitment to participation in shared services and the ongoing evolution of the economies of scale. This is gained by credit unions working together under Atlantic Central to leverage on marketing and operational efficiencies that benefit all in the long run. Our second main strategy focused on digital evolution. It's a simple fact, what you might call a self-evident truth, that our world is transforming to a digital way of living. And if we are to remain relevant as a business, we need to pay attention and move in a deliberate and orderly fashion towards the digital future. Our strategy wholly acknowledges this and clearly prioritizes activities that move us in this direction. It often seems like we can't move fast enough. Although, having said that, clearly when COVID left us with no options, OMISTA's team rallied and moved at the speed of light to ensure staff could work remotely and members could access service by remote means. Now, clearly this is not how we like to make change. But what it does tell us is that when we need to, we can change very quickly. In fact, at a recent virtual conference I attended, some stated that the COVID-19 epidemic has probably advanced digital agendas by 5 years. So we must be agile, flexible, and ready. I'll leave it to Tammy to elaborate in more detail in her report, but suffice to say, the actions planned for OMISTA are table stakes, and we must execute well on these plans to remain in the game. And if we are to grow and be of value to the new members we need and want to acquire, we need these new technologies and this digital functionality. We need it to even be noticed. In closing, I would be remiss not to recognize the recent and extraordinary demands placed on staff and management by this pandemic. You were asked to find new business processes and adapt to a changing work environment without missing a beat on service to members, and to do this at high speed. Some of you had to do this while taking care of kids at home. Some of you had to do this while helping others who could not risk shopping for themselves. Some of you had your own health issues and elevated risk to think about. And we all had to embrace extreme hygiene as a new normal. As a board, we asked our directors to be available with very short notice, and we asked that they give more time for more regular updates and meetings with more urgent issues needing immediate action. So none of this was easy, but I have to say the response from all was swift and effective, and as a result, OMISTA has weathered this pandemic so far very well. And we have all of you, the staff and management of the credit union, to thank for that. So I thank you, every single one of you. And thank you to Tammy, our CEO, for the leadership, flexibility, and resilience she has shown every day. Our board is proud to serve alongside all of you. We also thank our membership for their patience and understanding. And we thank our partners for supporting us and helping us with some of the heavy lifting. Let's continue to stick together, masters of collaboration and cooperation, committed to the common goal of advancing the common good. And we may just find that 2020 will surprise us all and be a year of unexpected progress and quantum learning for our credit union. This is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I now call on Tammy Christopher, our CEO, to deliver her report.
Thank you, Bill, and good evening. Thank you, members, for joining us tonight. The management and employees of OMISTA Credit Union remains to be a partner for our members, small business owners, and communities. In a time when the pace of change has never been faster, your credit union has been preparing and planning. We have been determined to find new ways and innovative ways to meet the demands and expectations of the next generation of credit union members, while maintaining our core values of fairness, trust, honesty, and service to all. Whether that service is in-branch performing transactions with a customer service representative or receiving advice from a lending or investment specialist, or from the comfort of your sofa performing digital transactions through Member Direct, OMISTA will provide you with the service you have come to depend on. 2019 was a year to plan, a year to develop priorities and create strategies for our digital journey. That foundation saw several new services added to our digital offerings. As part of our strategy to attract new members, we have introduced ClickSwitch, an automated account switching solution that quickly, safely, and efficiently switches account holders' recurring payments from their old accounts to new ones. It is integrated with Member Direct and is available to members anytime. ClickSwitch provides instant account setup and direct deposit transfer, automatic direct deposit form completion with copies of void checks, auto debit payee notification of new account information and billing updates, and real-time switch confirmation, and so much more. You all know that OMISTA offers Interact e-transfers, which is the ability to send and receive money in minutes through emails. Anyone with a phone number and an account at a participating Canadian credit union can use this product. In 2019, Interact has enhanced the existing e-transfer service with two new features, auto deposit and request money service, to make it easier to transfer funds. Auto deposit allows members to receive real-time deposits of incoming e-transfer transactions automatically into accounts without the need to answer a security question. Request money allows members to request money from a contact in their e-transfer recipient list. Members will pre-select the account to which the funds will be deposited if, when the request is fulfilled. When a request is fulfilled, the funds are immediately withdrawn from the recipient and deposited into the initiator's account with a received notification. With the cost rising of post-secondary education, the need for families to begin savings for a child's education is more important than ever. Smart Saver is a nonprofit organization dedicated to encouraging families to save for their children's education by opening RESPs and informing them about the Canadian Learning Bond and the Canadian Education Savings Grants. Atlantic credit unions have partnered with Smart Saver and are included on the list of participating financial institutions. Through this partnership, credit unions are better positioned to serve members directed to the Smart Save future by government agencies, community organizations, school districts, and are now actively promoting this to families in our communities. Living in a digital world means that we must also deal with cyber threats. In an attempt to keep our members safe online, we have introduced Member Direct Alerts. Wherever that you are and whatever time of day, members want to be confident and in control of their finances. Whether it is keeping an eye on account balance changes or protecting against fraudulent activity, Member Direct Services Alerts detects events that occur within online banking and sends alerts to the member. This enables you to be in control and monitor activities more closely. Moving into 2020, we know that we need a friction-free online presence. We will soon be introducing new mobile responsive websites. Gone will be the frustration of visiting a non-mobile responsive site on your mobile device. Our team and credit union partners are currently in the testing phase of an online account origination platform. We are working with a fintech called ASAP to bring you and prospective new members the ability to open accounts online and to accept applications online for unsecured lending. It will be business anytime, anywhere. I want to assure you that security and privacy remains a keen focus. No organization is immune to cyber threats, but we have taken additional measures to ensure your finances and personal information is safe and secure. As we move into a new decade and adapt to the new challenges placed upon us all by COVID-19, you can be confident that OMISTA Credit Union is there for you. We have adapted with social distancing and have been there through all of this to service you, our members. Thank you for placing your trust in us. I must express a huge thank you to the OMISTA team. You have all adapted under some very quick turnarounds. I am so proud to have each and every one of you on the team. Thank you for all you have done for our credit union and for our members. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. I will now call on Ajid Gautam, the chair of the audit committee, to present his report.
Thank you, Will. Sound and effective corporate control is the priority for OMISTA Credit Union. The Credit Union Board of Directors remains an independent entity with the ability to effectively supervise management's operation of the credit union. It is the responsibility of the audit committee to meet periodically with the credit union management and external auditors to review the matters relating to the quality of the financial reporting, internal accounting control, the nature, extent, and result of the audit, recommend the engagement of external audit, review and report the credit union's financial statement to the board of directors. The committee is made up of 5 directors: Jack Lowe, Robert Carson, George Butter, Simon Pacey, and myself, Ajit Gautam. And it is guided by the audit committee's charter and has authority to conduct and authorize investigation within its scope of responsibility, retain outside independent counsel, accountants, auditors, and others as it determines necessary to carry out the duties. Seek any information it requires from employees and external parties and meet as necessary. Meet with any executive, the risk management agency, RMA, the external auditors, and/or regulators without management being included if the committee so desire, or at the request of any of these parties. The committee met credit union bylaw requirement by holding regular meetings to ensure that appropriate level of due diligence has been directed towards effective risk management and control. Together with management, the audit committee recommended the audit firm KPMG to perform the annual external audit. The committee met with the external auditors to receive the audit plan and discuss in detail the areas to be covered. After a review of the audit financial statement for the year ended December 31st, 2019, the committee recommended their acceptance and approval by the board of directors on February 24th, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit. I will now call upon Carrie Blair, audit partner with KPMG LLP, to deliver the external auditor opinion.
Thank you. I'm Kerry Blair, a partner with KPMG, who is the auditing firm that has completed the audit of the financial statements of OMISTA Credit Union for the year ended December 31st, 2019. It is a pleasure to serve in the capacity as your auditor, and we have worked with management and the board through the audit committee to complete the process this year. We have issued an unqualified audit opinion on management's financial statements of OMISTA Credit Union, and we have communicated with the audit committee as well as management our findings. We are not responsible for any events subsequent to the date of our audit opinion. However, we have considered whether there was any events that have come to our attention that may cause us to believe that our opinion is in error at this point in time, and nothing has come to our attention and therefore have nothing further to report. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to serve as OMISTA's credit union's auditors, and hope to continue serving the entity into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. I will now call upon Asha Jamola, Director of Finance and Risk, to deliver the financial statements.
I will now take you through a brief summary of the highlights of our 2019 year. We will begin with our statement of financial position, which is found on page 1. This statement displays healthy growth in assets from $257.3 million to $267.7 million, an increase of $10.48 million or 4.07%. We saw steady growth in our lending portfolio during 2019. Loans grew from $220.3 million to $225 million, an increase of $4.7 million or 2.14%. On the liability side, the members account portfolio grew from $239.8 million to $248.4 million. This was an increase of $8.56 million or 3.57%. With the deposit growth stronger than lending growth, our investments increased by $6.6 million this year to $30.7 million. Overall, the balance sheet of credit union experienced the positive growth in 2019 and remains very strong. Moving on to page 2, we find the statement of comprehensive income. Total revenue earned from lending activities was $10.02 million compared to $9.67 million during the prior year. This was primarily due to the portfolio growth. Loans currently bear interest at an average annual rate of 4.56%, which is a slight increase when compared to 4.47% last year. Line of credit rate increased to 6.13% compared to 5.77%, and mortgages are down to 3.82% compared to 3.83% during prior year. Interest on investments is higher than previous year due to the interest rates and additional cash transferred to investments. These investments include segregated liquidity, shares in Atlantic Central, excess liquidity, etc. Under financial expense, the amount of interest paid to members for their deposits increased. This is primarily due to portfolio growth and interest rate hikes. Demand deposits bear interest at an average annual rate of 0.77%. Fixed term deposits bear interest at 2.27%, and RRSPs and RRIFs bear interest at 2.56% and 2.51% respectively. OMISTA continued to be able to control impairment losses on loans at $324,300 compared to $390,006 in the previous year. Financial margin, net of the above items, totaled $6.8 million compared to $6.6 million, slight increase over the previous year. Other revenue, which includes service charges, commissions, property rentals, and revenues from our wealth management offices, is reported at $2.1 million for the period. Operating expenses consists of the cost to maintain our premises, salaries, and the general operating costs of the credit union were closely monitored throughout 2019, with an increase of 1.98% to $7.5 million in 2019. This leaves the credit union with before tax income of $1,385,231 and after tax income of $1,050,737. Moving on to page 3 is the statement of changes in members' equity. This statement demonstrates for us how the retained earnings of the credit union have changed. We began the period with a total equity sources of $13,734,276 and added to it net income of $1,050,737 and set aside the necessary amount to pay a dividend to our preferred shareholders in the amount of $16,683. This leaves the credit union with a total equity of $14,768,330. The closing equity position of the credit union at December 31st, 2019 is 5.85% compared to 5.71% in the previous year. On page 4, you'll find the statement of cash flows, which essentially provides to you with the sources and uses of cash for the year. This statement explains in detail how our cash position has changed throughout the year. And finally, beginning on page 5, you'll find the notes to the financial statements that will provide even more details on each line item of the statement of financial position. The notes also contain detailed information regarding OMISTA's significant accounting policies. In accordance with OMISTA bylaws, Article 5, Section 9, Subsection 1, commencing January 1st, 2019, directors of the credit union shall be paid an aggregate maximum of $125,000 per year. Included in Note 16 Board-related expenses of $96,765 are reported under key management and directors' remuneration. I also want to highlight that this year, there is a change to credit union's accounting policies resulting from its adoption of IFRS 16, which explains in detail in notes 2 and 10 how leases are accounted for. This concludes the review of financial statements. Overall, 2019 was a very successful year for the credit union. I would like to thank everyone for your attention.
Thank you, Asha. With all the reports now being presented, I will return the chair back to Claire Fanning.
Thank you, Bill. May I have a motion to accept the reports and financial statements as presented?
Robert Carson. The motion has been moved by Robert Carson and seconded by Bob Christie.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please use your Q&A box to type in any questions you may have, and we'll pause for a moment to allow you time to do that.
Now, I did have a note from Richard Vaillancourt. I don't know if it was about this motion or if he's looking for new business. So Richard, if you do have a question, we'll wait on you for this. We know he's pretty fast on the typing, so I'm guessing that it wasn't about this motion. So Madam Chair, I see.
Saying no question at the moment.
I see no questions, no.
Anything else coming through from anyone?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. You should now see a poll on your screen. So again, I'll ask that everybody please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit. Okay, wonderful. As you can see on your screen, the motion to accept the reports and approve the 2019 financial statements has been carried. Thank you, everyone. We're now on item 10 of our agenda, new business. Is there any new business to come before the meeting this evening? Should you have any new business, please type "I have new business" into the Q&A box. We'll pause for a moment to see if there is any.
And we do have some new business. This is from Richard Vaillancourt, Madam Chair. He says, happy to add a couple of points. Firstly, he'd like to commend the management employees of OMISTA for another terrific year. As a longtime OMISTA member and former CEO, he's delighted to read of the consistent growth and success of our credit union. He says, I know at least 95% of the employee team and know this is due to your commitment, skill sets, dedication, and abilities to lead a successful organization like ours. Hats off to all of you. You are in good hands with our wonderful CEO, Tammy. I knew she was a winner when I hired her in 2005 and reinforced she was one of my very best hiring decisions. Secondly, I want to commend the OMISTA team for their great work through the pandemic. I know what challenging times we are facing, and I know our team is well positioned to lead us through these times successfully. I'm proud to continue to refer my friends and colleagues to OMISTA. Thirdly, thank you to OMISTA for the opportunity to attend the AGM virtually. It was well presented. Well done.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Rick. I know that means a lot to everybody, to the full team. And, you know, we're trying to carry on your legacy. So perhaps Tammy would like to say something.
I just want to say thank you for the kind words, Rick. Very nice of you to be able to attend, and we're very happy to be able to greet members in this social distancing fashion tonight. Just before we go to a few more questions, I am going to ad lib a little bit here, Madam Chair, if I may. I believe we had a question about door prizes. And Darlene Smith, could we ever go without door prizes? I think not. So before me, I hope you can see this. Who knew that this was the 100th anniversary of the CN Rail? So we have 3 2019 100th anniversary of CN Rail commemorative coins. And those hardworking OMISTA employees in the background have drawn for 3 lucky winners. And they are Anne-Marie McDermott, Audrey Singleton, sorry about that, and Stephanie McGrath. Congratulations. Madam Chair, I will pass it back to you.
Thank you, Tammy. And I'll go back to Catherine to see if we have any further new business.
Well, you see, I just think we should point out that the crowd forced the hand of OMISTA to offer free prizes. I think that's awesome. I just want to say thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this historic annual general meeting. And back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, no further new business?
No further new business, Madam Chair, and no questions.
Okay, so with no further new business, and before I adjourn the meeting, I would like to take the opportunity to thank you all for your participation tonight. Since the onset of the restrictions due to COVID-19, we've all made many adjustments to our daily lives. I wish you and your family safety, good health, and prosperity. Your credit union is here for you to help you through this challenging time. We're a partner you can trust and depend on. So thank you and good night. The meeting is adjourned.